Have you ever gotten into a relationship with a woman who was a really good girl at the start? She respected you, she treated you really well, but then gradually she started to change. Right? That innocent, sweet, good girl side of her that she showed you at the start gradually began to disappear and was replaced by a more disrespectful girl, a moodier girl, a girl who didn't want to show you the respect and appreciation that you felt you deserved. So why does that happen? And how can you avoid it happening so you can actually be one of the men who has a woman who respects you, appreciates you, loves you, and feels attracted to you all the way throughout a relationship or marriage that lasts for life? How can you be one of those men? First, I'll give you an example to help you understand why it happens and how to avoid it. So the contrast example I have here is that a woman is with a man who treats her well, but doesn't bend to her every will, versus a woman is with a man who treats her well and always wants to make sure that she gets her way. He always supports her no matter how silly her request, idea, or action is. With that sort of guy who just does whatever she wants and supports whatever request she has, whatever idea she has, whatever action she takes, whatever behavior she displays, he just supports it. That can bring out a bad side in a woman. No matter how good she is at her core, it can bring out a side of her where she feels like she doesn't need to be as respectful as she would be with a guy who treats her well but doesn't bend to her every will, doesn't accept ridiculous requests, doesn't accept disrespectful behavior, disrespectful actions. He doesn't accept that. Right? She feels more accountable in a relationship with a man like that. Now, the thing is, it doesn't mean that a woman's behavior is all a man's fault, right? Women behaving badly, it's a man's fault. Men are to blame. Instead, though, what is actually happening in relationships between men and women is that the woman reacts to the dynamic that the man creates. And the thing is, as a man, you are always leading the dynamic between you and a woman, whether you want to or not. A woman's natural tendency is to be more passive when it comes to men, right? So some examples of that. When it comes to approaching and talking to the opposite sex, it's usually the man who has to go over and start the conversation. When it's a date, women wait to be asked out on a date. When it's dancing, the man leads the dance. And it also goes way back to the school years when you think about what's called the prom in America and what's called the debutante ball in Australia, for example, where the boy and the girl go to the dance together. And traditionally, it's the boy who has to ask the girl. Sometimes schools make it so that it's more even these days. Sometimes girls ask a guy to the prom or the ball. But essentially, traditionally, it's the guy, right? The guy has to have the balls to make something happen. He has to go and ask the girl out. Generally speaking, women tend to be more passive when it comes to men. And that continues on in a relationship where, just like in a dance between a man and a woman, the man is leading the dance. He's not being led by the woman, during a dance. During a dance, the man is leading the woman. During a relationship, a woman is following the man's lead in terms of the behavior that he is displaying. Is he a man that causes her to want to respect him? Is he a man that causes her to feel like she needs to show appreciation? Or is he a man that causes her to feel like, I don't need to respect him. I don't need to show him appreciation. I'll do whatever I want. The guy brings out that side of her. So another example I've got here is that a guy has allowed his girlfriend to take him for granted and he doesn't know how to fix the problem. Right, so she hardly shows him any affection, she's rude to him, she complains all the time, and he doesn't want to get into an argument about it because he's worried that she might dump him, or he just doesn't want to deal with the argument. Because if he gets into an argument with her, it can sometimes be a huge deal. She can give him the silent treatment, she can threaten to break up with him, she can be crying. It's a lot to deal with. In a relationship like that, the couple will grow further apart. There'll be resentment on the guy's part because in most cases, he'll usually be trying to do more to please the woman and make her finally show him some appreciation and respect, and he won't be getting it, which will annoy him. Or he may actually become very angry at her and start getting into arguments with her about it and potentially threatening to break up with her and so forth. But the whole problem could have been avoided in the first place, and it can be fixed if a guy's in the middle of it. So to avoid it in the first place, the guy needs to establish and maintain the right type of relationship dynamic that brings out a woman's good girl side and keeps that side of her active, where she feels motivated, she feels compelled to show respect to him, to appreciate him, to be a good woman for him, right? That is a relationship dynamic that can be created and maintained if a guy understands how to do that. But what if he has stuffed up already? How does he fix it? One way to do it is to start being attractive to her in new ways, so she begins to feel attracted to him again. So depending on what type of guy he is, he might either need to become more confident and manly if he's being a bit too wimpy in the relationship, or if he's been a bit too cold and detached and hasn't been treating her well, he needs to begin giving unconditional love to her without expecting anything in return, right? To show her, in a case where a guy's just been taking her for granted and hasn't been treating her well, that he's giving her love, he's treating her well, he's doing the right thing now, but he's not expecting a pat on the back in return, right? He's just changed. He's just started to become a better man now, where she's been loving him and she's been giving him unconditional love. She's been putting up with the fact that he's been taking her for granted. Now he starts giving her unconditional love. He starts being a better man for her. But if it's a guy who's been very soft and wimpy and needy and sensitive and sulking and all that sort of stuff in the relationship, and she's been able to walk all over him, then he needs to start being more confident and manly so she can look at him and think, oh, right, he finally is starting to get it. Right? He's starting to become the man that she wanted him to be. He's starting to be someone that she can respect. Another way to fix the problem where the relationship is starting to fall apart is let her sense that he could lose interest in her and leave if she doesn't improve. So the thing is, women do this to men, right? The woman doesn't have to say that she could lose interest and leave and say that directly for the man to sense it, right? If you've ever been in a relationship with a woman who has lost interest in you, you can sense it based on how she's reacting to you. And you can also make a woman feel like you could lose interest and leave her if she doesn't improve. But it's essential that you do number one first, which is to start being more attractive. Because if you're not attractive to her and she gets the sense that, oh, you might actually leave her, then she might be happy with that. It's like if you're in a relationship with a woman that you're not attracted to and she's given you the sense that she could leave, you're like, sweet, just leave. There's the door over there, go. But if you're not attracted to her, and for us men, physical appearance in a woman is very important and her femininity, but if you're not very attracted to her and she starts to get in better shape and she starts to look prettier and she starts to be more of a feminine woman, then you're going to start to value her more and feel more attracted to her. And the more beautiful she looks and the more feminine she becomes, the more you will want to hold onto her and keep the relationship going. So if she then gives you the sense that if you don't improve, she could leave, then you're going to feel motivated to actually improve. Right? So the same thing applies with women, but it's based on different things. Most women place much more importance on who the guy is, how he behaves, and how that makes her feel. So in other words, how confident he is versus how insecure he is, how masculine he is versus how much of a woman he is, right? How sensitive he is and so forth, right? Women want certain traits in a man such as confidence, masculinity, emotional independence, and so forth. They want to feel that coming from you. And the more confident you are, the more masculine you are, the more she's going to feel attracted to you. That doesn't mean you need to be the most confident, masculine man in the world, but you just need to be more confident, more masculine than you have been in the past if you have actually become a bit of a soft guy in the relationship, if you've sort of suppressed your masculinity around her because you're afraid of her reaction. She's been able to walk all over you, right? You need to start stepping up, and then she starts seeing you as more attractive. And then if you give her the sense that if she doesn't improve her behavior, you could leave, then she feels motivated to improve her behavior. And number 3, get love to flow more freely in the relationship. So what happens for a lot of couples is they end up almost competing with each other in terms of how much they can pull away, right? Oh, well, you're not showing interest in me, I won't show interest in you, right? You're being like that, I'll be like this, and so forth. But that doesn't bring a couple closer together. It doesn't make a couple happy. It doesn't make them stay together for life. So what you need to do is you need to be more fearless with your love, in that you notice and appreciate her acts of love towards you, and rather than having a reaction where you say something like, oh, finally you're doing something like that for me, or why didn't you do this sort of thing before? Right? You don't be needy in that way. You don't be selfish in that way in terms of how you're giving and taking love. You just be more fearless and unconditional with your love and be able to say something like thanks or you're a good woman, I love you. Right? So rather than trying to make her feel bad about finally doing something good for you, just reinforce her good behavior where you give her an unconditional love type of compliment as a result, where you just say, thank you, babe, or thank you, I love you, or you're a great woman, come here, and you give her a hug. So the thing is, when it comes to relationships with women, you really are in control of the dynamic that you're creating with her. It doesn't mean that everything's your fault, but as a man, you have to take on the responsibility of the one who is the natural leader. In a romantic relationship with a woman, it's not her natural inclination or natural way of being to be the one who's leading you and, quote unquote, being the man and making everything happen, right? She wants to be with a man who understands how to be a man, right? He understands how to be confident and masculine and to lead the way in a loving way. It doesn't mean they have to decide on everything, and decisions can be definitely made by her. She contributes, she helps out in the relationship, but at the end of the day, she's looking to you, right? How are you approaching the relationship with her? How are you behaving around her? Oh, you're being needy or insecure or too jealous or you're being too sensitive? She's going to lose respect for you. And when she loses respect for you, she's going to start losing attraction for you, because a man like that is not someone that she can look up to and respect. And likewise, if a guy is being too cold and too indifferent, a woman can try to turn him around and get him to show love towards her. But if he doesn't actually turn that around and begin to give her more unconditional love and be fair with it, it can get to a point where a woman starts to feel very resentful for the fact that she's been contributing so much to the relationship, helping out so much, doing so much for him, and he just doesn't give her the love that she wants. And that can lead her to breaking up with him or to cheating and then breaking up. So the thing is, with a relationship with a woman, if you want to be happy in a relationship with a woman and you want her to be happy, both of you and her are in love, you have to approach it in a way where you bring out the good girl side in her, but you also approach the relationship in a way that makes her feel loved and respected too. Right? She's making you feel loved and respected, but you do the same in return. And when those things are out of balance, one or both of the people will feel unhappy in the relationship. And in many cases, all it takes is an argument, a serious argument to just blow up. And then one of them says, that's it, I'm leaving you. Or that's it, it's over. Because there's not enough of a feeling holding them there in a relationship. Because a relationship between a man and a woman is actually something that's an ongoing decision, right? And you can decide to leave at any point. But as you would have seen throughout history, couples have been able to remain together for life. Some of them unhappily, of course, but there have been literally billions of couples that have remained together and been happy together and in love for life. And that is possible, but you have to approach it in the right way, right? If a guy brings out a bad side of his woman, where she starts disrespecting him, not appreciating him, and so forth, that can cause him to either feel unhappy or miserable, or it can actually bring out a bit of a bad side in him, where he starts to get a bit angry at her. And the relationship just doesn't work. And they could have worked as a couple. It really could have worked if he just understood how to bring that side of her out and keep that side of her out, where she's being a good woman to him and he's also approaching the relationship correctly. So the thing is, for some guys, I know that relationships can seem scary and a guy doesn't want to get involved and then get his heart broken or get taken advantage of by a woman and so forth. But you really do have to understand that it is possible for a couple to fall in love and remain in love for life. That is possible. And it's not something that you can't understand. There are common mistakes that guys make when it comes to relationships with women. And as I said, it's not all the guy's fault, but as a man, it's your responsibility to take on the lead in your life and make sure that what is happening in your life works. Because if you leave it all to a woman and you just leave her in control, then you're at her mercy. And Most women do not want to take on the role of being the leader, of being the one who tells you what to do and so forth. They want to look to you as a man that they respect and love, so they can then feel that natural motivation to show you appreciation, show you affection, show you love, give you their loyalty and stay with you.